Hello friends, welcome back to another video. We are in Portugal for another edition of, I guess, what we called like the Sacalobber episode. We called it like the World Tour of Climbs. I'm in a new place. I'm in Portugal, southern Portugal. We're on a climb from Monchique to Foia, I think the name is, that sits at 900 meters above sea level. I've just gone straight into it. No messing around, because this is the full GoPro footage of that effort. I've got to tell a story, okay? So I don't know how long this is going to go on for, but I really want to tell this story because it's not clickbait whatsoever. But Remco Evenepoel did slide into my DMs. Well, actually, I slid into his, and then he messaged me back, which I wasn't expecting one bit. So before my mind explodes with that story, I just want to talk a little bit about like the build up to this and like being like how this came to be, because there's a lot of groundwork to do. Okay, so basically leading up to this this climb, we'd been riding across Portugal in an event which takes place and rides from north to south, and the event is called Ride Across Portugal. And this was actually on the morning of the final stage, and the whole idea of the event is to basically ride from north to south, but to experience the country in, you know, all of its glory, culture, as well as like riding your bike, pushing yourself on certain segments, and, well, you know, chilling out and talking to people. So yeah, we were like 5 days in, so this would have been the last day, like 6 days, and we were in the Algarve, and the day before this effort, so this was about 8:30 in the morning, and obviously I made a video of this day but didn't go into detail about this climb, and I wanted to save it for its own video. And I don't know if you noticed, but there's a following car here. There's actually two following cars and a motorbike, but they're part of the event. The media team came out. They volunteered to follow me up the climb and to shoot some B-roll footage, some drone shots, and it was such a lovely day that it would make for just really good content, just in general. And of course, I wasn't going to turn that down, but I did want to just give this effort full concentration. Now, because it was so far into, you know, the week, the fact that we'd ridden across a whole country leading up to this effort, I was a little bit unsure. You know, I didn't really know if, you know, this is even a good idea. Like, I don't want to jinx it, but sometimes I feel good when I've been riding for a whole week and I'm under heavy load. But to be honest with you, I was a little bit nervous about doing this, because this is probably like one of the only like KOMs I think I've had a stab at that an actual race is finished on. And the race in question is the Volta Algarve, and you know, Remco has won on top of here. Those of you that remember it, he did a massive sprint at the end. We'll get onto that in a second, but the climb has been used as the finish of stage 2 of the Volta Algarve, and it's a very fast climb, as I'm sure you can see here from this effort. You know, I'm going as hard as I can go for this 16-17 minute climb, and the target average speed, which is on my screen on my bike computer because it's kind of nice to have it there as an extra metric, but I know that if I'm doing between 25 and 30 kilometers an hour on a 5 to 7% gradient, I know that's gonna sound nuts, I know, but it is nuts. Like, I know if I'm doing that, then I'm on for like a fast climb, and this climb is not really difficult. Like, it's a, you know, for me, it's a big ring climb, and you never really get a feel for the speed. The GoPro kind of gives you a little bit of a sense of it, but like not as much as if, say, you know, there was a motorbike behind me, and you know, you see like the guys like Safa will do it on YouTube, and you can see just how fast riders are climbing or riding downhill when you've got that view from behind or from in front or from the side or whatever. But hopefully when we get the shots from you know, the actual media team on this event, then give you a little bit of a better perspective, and I'll upload that as and when I've got it. I really want to show you that because I think it's a very rare perspective. But anyway, I'm getting all excited. This story, which I wanted to share with you. So the day before, we did a 190 kilometer ride, and there was a fair few kind of racing segments we were going for during the stage, and I went for them as well as I could without burning too many matches, like riding them tempo. And it was only like the last effort on the last climb of the day where I did 25 minutes at about 5.7 watts per kilo, and I knew then that I was on good legs, but I wanted to save something for today's effort. So although it was a max effort, it wasn't like I'm going to completely empty the tank, because it's a long day, you know, 6 hours riding, load of efforts. You get the idea. We've all been there, right? So I wake up the morning of this effort. I've already, like, in my mind, I've already committed to it. Like, people have already given me the idea. When we finished at the end of that 190k stage, people were like, well, you can't come all this way and then not do this climb to Foia. I hope I'm saying that right. And I was like, well, what even is this climb? And they were like, oh, it starts like literally in the center of Monchique, and it's like, you know, it's a perfect climb for you. And it is really, like, if the climb is like this gradient, it's like a real diesel climb, then you should go out and do it, and you should have a go at it. And I was like, oh, how am I gonna fit this in? Like, I don't even know the climb. I've not even researched it. I didn't even know about it. And then, like, 12 hours before I line up to try this effort, like, people are telling me to do it. So that night I went on Strava. I was like looking at the weather, and there was like very little wind. It was quite cool, you know. It's like, you know, this is like, what did I say, like 8:30, 9 a.m. It's like 20 degrees, but there's no wind, and it's really nice. And the roads are obviously quiet, but most of the roads in Portugal, to be fair, that we've ridden on are very quiet. So I got the cogs turning, and I was like, I can't really plan this effort. Like, this is going to be a little bit of a, I'm going to have to go out on a whim, and like, as much as like Google Maps can really help you, like, I was kind of in the dark about it. So I could see the leaderboard, and I could see, like, you know, oh man, there's some strong riders here. You know, you got Tim Wellens, who's at the top of the leaderboard, but technically, you know, Remco is, but he didn't upload the effort because, well, you know, some riders don't, like, from one day to the next. And then you got Nibali, you've got like Kwiatkowski, you've got like Greg Van Avermaet, you got Ethan Hayter. So you've got like riders in there who, you know, are like, it's one of those climbs where it's very fast, like very little separates like the top 10 per se, and the group always stays together, right? And because this climb is 7.3k, an average of 6%, it's only that first bit that's really steep, but the rest of it is like, it's quite a fast climb. Like, riders in the pro race are not going off the front, they're going off the back. So it's like, it's a diesel climb. People are pulling hard on the front and swinging off, pulling hard on the front, swinging off, and just burning riders until there's, you know, only 1k to go, then every man for themselves. And obviously I paced this climb, or wanted to pace the climb, as if it was like a time trial. So I'd start off hard, invest where it's steeper, and then I would just try and hang on for as long as possible. And I was on better legs than I thought I would be, and I averaged like 393 watts for the 17 minutes, which is up there with some of my best ever numbers for this duration, given the situation. So, you know, obviously riding for 6 days, you know, 250 TSS a day, give or take, which is kind of like a moderately hard day, but not like super duper hard. So I came into it fatigued, but still wanted to give it my best shot. So, like, really nervous going to bed that night, like, for some weird reason. And then, like, woke up the next morning, and I had to like I had to only eat like basically the bare minimum. Like, I was just going straight to simple carbs and ride to Monchique, which was like 7 kilometers uphill, use that as my warm-up, and then meet up with a team and just go for it. And I'd ridden some of the climb in the warm-up, so just prior to the effort here, I'd ridden some of the climb, maybe like 4k of the whole 7k, and then I turned around and I was like, okay, I've kind of got the idea of, like, you know, the bulk of this climb, but the last like k and a half, as you'll see, is quite open and exposed. And if you had a headwind, because technically you change direction with about a k and a half, 2k to go, then, you know, you're either gonna like muck up the whole climb by having a headwind, or you know, you can gain a load of time that last K. So the other thing as well is, of course, that in a pro race, when they come to the end, like usually there's enough for, you know, a big sprint at the end, or big surge where people are attacking that last 500, 600 meters, and that's obviously something that I wouldn't have, because I'm pacing it to finish with the tank absolutely empty, rather than drafting off wheels and, you know, kind of playing that waiting game, if you will. So I hit the climb, and as you see, like, the graph there is like, it's pretty flat. Like effectively I do 400 watts for the first 5 minutes, and then there's a slight drop in power as we hit like a flat section, and then it just becomes like a bit of like don't give in to yourself scenario, where I'm in the big ring and I'm slightly cross chaining, but I'm like, this is better than if I was in a small ring, because in a small ring I'd be halfway down the cassette or slightly more, and then I'd be like inclined to like fiddle with my gears a lot. And I don't think it's just something I've talked about, but like when you climb in the big ring, sometimes you give yourself no option but to push hard, because you can't change to a smaller gear. And it's quite interesting actually, especially when you're watching the Giro now. You know, you see a lot of riders climbing in the big ring, even though it's you know, even though they are cross-chaining. So it kind of comes down to like feel as well at the end of the day, and what you feel better gear-wise climbing in. So anyway, I get to the top of the climb, and there's a statue of Remco up there at the top, and so I took a photo, get some shots, descend back down, and then like have a cup of coffee at Monchique, which is a cycling cafe in the centre of Monchique, and I upload the ride, and I could see I get like 7th place, and I'm well up there, and I'm like, I'm really chuffed with it. So I share a couple of stories on Instagram, and I tag Remco, because obviously the statue's at the top, and then the guy gets back to me, and I said, like, I can't even remember how I felt. I was like, what? Like, Remco has actually responded to, like, I hadn't technically messaged him, I just tagged him in a story of like this statue at the top, and so his reply is like headwind ? So I don't know whether he sees, like, because I actually like I linked my Strava activity like on that post as well, because like, not that I wanted him to see it, but like if he was intrigued, or if anyone was intrigued, they'd obviously look at it. Not if he's intrigued. I'm not actually trying to get Remco to look at my Strava, although I should have a look to see if he's giving me kudos. But it was like, I was looking, I was like, you know, if anyone's interested, they can obviously link and look at Strava. And he says headwind, wind is crucial on this one, and he's dead right. But there was virtually no wind, apart from maybe the last bit, but it just felt like I was dying off anyway in that last kilometre, so I don't think it was a headwind. I think I was basically just coming to a stop basically. And he says, I remember attacking that last 500 meters like 610 watts for a minute, which is massive, and like, you know, that's something that I can only ever do fresh, and like to try and do that at the end of a 17-minute effort would be nigh on impossible for me to do. So, you know, that just goes to show the level. Of course, this dude is world champion. This guy is world champion and has won, you know, the Tour of Spain, and quite possibly could have won the Giro d'Italia, you know. But shout out Geraint Thomas, it's actually his birthday today, fellow Welshman, crushing it. I hope he wins the Giro, because that'll be awesome, the oldest guy ever to win the Giro if he does. But I was also thinking then, like today, I was like, oh, I wonder if like we could get Remco to like send us a little voice message, and he could be part of this video, this little breakdown of the video. But then I thought maybe that's over ambitious, so I didn't do that. But Remco, if you're watching, you know. But yeah, so so you're saying in the wheels is definitely an advantage. In a race, of course, I mean, that goes without saying. You know, you watch the pro level races and the speeds that these guys do when they're doing, you know, 25 to 30k an hour on a 4 to 7% gradient. There's definitely a draft benefit, definitely. And you can't really tell from the GoPro footage again, but you know, the speed is there. And when you're on a wheel, or when you're behind a motorbike motor pacing, which can be done uphill as well, of course, boy oh boy does it make a difference. But he says it's a great climb to train on, and I couldn't agree more. You know, it's a really nice kind of steady, consistent gradient. You could do any kind of intervals on this climb, or you could do a full gas effort up this climb. But I'm very grateful to have had the support of the team on this climb to come out and film, and you know, hopefully, like I said, we'll get some of those video clips and just make a really short video montage of it for you to see it from a different perspective. And also, you know, the riders and the organisation who supported me and said, look, you know, you're here, give it a go, see what you can do up the climb. And you know, most riders are going to do around 20 minutes. Like, most good riders in the area do 20 minutes up this climb, and they use it as like a little bit of a test. And it's, you know, to me, it's really cool that like every region or every area, like around the world, really has its own like famous climb that people go and test themselves on and things. And it's like, you know, Mallorca has Sacalobra, Wales has the Tumble Mountain, for example. You know, the London area might have Box Hill. You know, all this kind of good stuff. Like, everyone has their climb that they go and test themselves on. And you know, I'm so happy. Well, like this climb, for example, has had 27,000 attempts by just over 7,000 people, and I was so happy to be able to be in the position where I could have done that effort, and I did do the effort, and just wanted to share it with you, because like sometimes we see, you know, climbs like the Zoncolan, climbs like Alpe d'Huez, you know, we see all these climbs, and more often than not we think to ourselves, oh, we have a climb in our area that's, you know, also like the holy grail of our area. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think sometimes we don't see those climbs because they're just, you know, not talked about. So I kind of wanted to talk about this climb. Kind of wanted to talk about, you know, how cool Remco is for reaching out, and you know, he didn't have to. I threw some luck out there and hoping that he might have seen it. But to get a message from him was incredible, and just shows the kind of person he is, not just the type of athlete he is, and I think that's awesome as well. And also, like, you know, incredible country Portugal is, and I've really enjoyed my time there. So I want to thank you all so much for watching and sitting through this. I know it's been a 17-minute one, but you know, hopefully it's inspired you to get out there and go on your bike, ride some climbs, give it some beans, give it some big effort. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I will see you in the next video.